Hi everyone, Junlin here. It's been a while since my last video. Today I will share my first English video to walk through all the modifications on my 4Runner. I bought this truck 5 years ago, right after finishing my master's degree at University of Virginia, before moving from the East Coast to UC San Diego for my PhD degree. I originally bought her for a cross-country road trip, and over the past 5 years, I have kept updating her little by little until she became what she is today. Now I'm about to graduate. I will move to another country. I feel it's the right time to share the story of this truck and everything I have done to her. After this video, I will list it on the Facebook market. I really hope she can find the right next owner somewhere in South California, someone who will take her to new adventures. So with that said, let's get started. This is the 2004 4Runner SR5 Premium V6 4-wheel drive. It currently has around 160,000 miles on it, and I personally drove it for about 40,000 miles. Other than one time when I completely ran out of gas on the highway, the truck has never left me stranded. In this video, I will mainly talk about two parts: off-roading and camping. Also, a quick heads up, I may not remember every exact model name of the modes while filming, but I will organize everything by time order and put the full mode list in the descriptions for everyone who is interested in the details. Let's start with the off-road modes of the build: suspensions, tires, armors, recovery, gears, lighting, and a few customer exterior details. For suspension, the biggest update was definitely the lift setup. Up front, I'm running a 3-inch Icon suspension system with KSP upper control arms. In the rear, I have Bilstein 5100 with a 2-inch lift. I personally really like this setup because it provides off-road capability without adding too much drag, so overall it feels very well balanced. For the wheels and tires, I'm running Toyota 17-inch TRD wheels with 32-inch tires. The tire size is a little bit unusual. I use 255/75 R17 BFGoodrich Q2s. I choose this size very intentionally because I want a setup that balances the off-road capability, fuel economy, road noise, and overall drivability. And most importantly, it's perfect to drive into a parking building, and I don't like to expose my truck under the California sunshine for a long time. Up front, I used a Leo Beast 4 height front bumper and a worn 10,000-pound winch. To me, a winch is the single most useful recovery tool for off-roading. Nothing else comes close. I honestly don't use it very often, which is a good thing. So I usually keep it covered with a dust cover. I didn't upgrade a metal rear bumper, mostly because of the weight. My 32-inch tire setup also doesn't require an external swing-out spare carrier. So keeping the spare underneath helps the truck stay cleaner and more decent looking overall. Back here, you can also see that I trimmed part of the exhaust and added a new factory TRD exhaust tip. This was mainly to improve the departure angle and also clean up the rear look. For rock sliders, I had a local San Diego off-road bumper fabricator, Alfredo. He helped me weld the rock sliders directly onto the frame. I gave them a pretty aggressive angle, and I also did lots of rust prevention afterwards. Honestly, these things are incredibly strong, and I feel they can overlast the truck. The snorkel is one of my favorite and most satisfying DIY projects on this whole build. I followed a few YouTube videos and adapted a cheap aftermarket LC100 style snorkel onto this 4Runner. The original brand was called Powerful, but I removed the branding. What I really love is the low profile design. It blends into the truck really well. It doesn't create too much wind resistance and noise, and looks almost factory style. I didn't install the snorkel for water crossing, that was never the point. For me, it's much more useful in desert environment where it can help reduce the dust, improve airflow, and give a little bit more breathing. And of course, let's be honest, it also makes the truck look way better. One of the biggest visual upgrades on this truck was definitely the sport engine hood. Finding one good sport hood took a lot of patience and luck. I spent years looking for a used hood with good condition in junkyard or Facebook market around San Diego. And when I finally found one, it was a 06 to 09 hood with a dark gray color. One of my friends in LA helped me repaint it to match the black body color, and then I paired it with the 06 to 09 TRD style grille. And after everything was done, I can honestly say I don't regret spending a single dollar on this project. It completely changed the presence of this truck. And yes, the V8 badge came from the Oceanside junkyard. My 4Runner is actually a V6, but no one can refuse a V8, so that stayed. On the hood, I installed a diamond antenna adapter and installed a radio inside the truck. Most of the time I use the 18-inch antenna because it makes parking indoors easier. When I go off-road, I switch to a longer 40-inch antenna for better range and signal. Now let's talk about lighting. On the front bumper, I have 3 pairs of Auxbeam light posts. The outer 2 are used for fog lights, and the center set is for high output off-road lighting. At the front center, I added a 20-inch Baja design LED light bar to improve the visibility during off-road and bad weather. And on the hood, I installed 2 Baja design Sequential Pro lights to improve the side visibility, and some Raptor lights on the grille. On the roof, I added a 40-inch curved LED light setup that I'm really proud of. I designed a rack so it integrates cleanly with the factory roof rails and keeps everything low profile and neat. This is extremely bright and came with amber functions and fit my overall design very well. For the headlights, I upgraded to an aftermarket RGB LED headlights. Yes, they're a little bit flashy, but they definitely look way better than the factory ones. And in the rear, I upgraded to a sequential tail lights and also tinted all of these lights to a more consistent dark gray look. At the back, I hollowed out of the spoiler area and customized, installed a chase light. For off-road driving, I think the higher of the chase light, the better, because it makes the truck easier for others to see in dust, no light, or in group conditions. This was a larger mode inspired by a few YouTube videos, but I made some improvements based on my own needs, and I'm really happy with how it turns out. It doesn't just work as a chase light, it also functions as a turn signal, reverse light, and working light. So for me, it's much more useful than just a simple navigation light. My friend said that when I turn it on, the truck looks like a construction vehicle. And honestly, as an engineer, I take this as a compliment. To be honest, I was never really the kind of person who want to load a lot of off-road lights on my truck. I used to think that most of them just look cool, but they weren't actually useful. But somehow, over these years, I just kept adding more and more lights, little by little. I honestly don't even know how it happened. I just felt like something was missing here and there, and I kept telling myself, oh, this light is practical, that position is practical, and at the end of the day, I spent the money at the lights, and I have to admit, while I am an engineer, I also care a lot about looks. For the roof rack, I didn't upgrade to an aftermarket roof rack, and that was very intentional design. There were 3 reasons. First, I sleep inside the truck, so I never added a rooftop tent. Second, I don't like loading a bunch of gears and tools on the top because it will increase the drag, wind noise, and fuel consumption. Third, and most importantly, I don't want to raise the center of gravity. In sand and off-road situations, that just add more unnecessary risks. Instead, I just added 2 factory roof rail pieces from junkyard on the original one. For carrying a pair of recovery boards and 2 awnings, that setup is already more than enough. If I had to summarize my off-road philosophy of this build, I would say this. I understand that unless I spend a huge amount of money on a very serious build, the limit of this 4Runner is still going to be there. The truck is not built for something like a Rubicon Trail. So my overall strategy was pretty conservative. I want the truck to have a distinct look, improved real off-road capability and articulation, and still keep decent fuel economy and road miles. And based on my experience over the past 5 years, I think that was absolutely the right choice. Whether it's in the Hills Revenge, 3N34 dishpan springs in California, Glamis, or Coyote Flat, this truck made it through every challenge with me and always bring me home safely. If you look closely at the scratches on the body, you can tell this truck has really been places. It has seen a lot of trails, a lot of deserts, a lot of adventures. And honestly, I think all of those marks just gave it more character. At the end of this video, I will share some trail footage so you can see what this truck actually looked like in the places it was built for. Now let's move to the camping style of this build. I also made a lot of changes to make this truck comfortable for long trips, overlanding and sleeping inside. Before I go through the setup in detail, I'll lay out all the gears so you can get a better sense of how the whole system works together. So, first question is why I choose an in-car sleeping system. Earlier I mentioned that I never went a rooftop tent. Part of the reason was weight and center of gravity, but another big reason was comfort. In my opinion, rooftop tents are much worse in terms of thermal and sound isolation. And personally, I never feel as safe in a rooftop tent as I do sleep inside the car, especially in wireless. I removed the rear seat bottoms and built these 2 wooden support panels, so the back becomes completely flat. That let me fit a twin-size folding mattress in the rear and sleep comfortably inside. These wood panels are actually really useful in daily use. My dog especially loves standing here and looking out the window with me during our adventures. Underneath, I use space to store things like recovery tools, air pump, trash bags, and small essentials. So, how about the gear storage? One of the main reasons people use the rooftop tent is that once you sleep inside the car, luggage and gear storage become a problem. If you have to unload everything every single night just to make space to sleep, the experience gets old very quickly. So the challenge is this: how do you sleep inside the car and still could safely carry enough gears for real trips? For me, the answer was the side awning setup. As you can see, I have 2 awnings. The driver's side is a 217-degree roofless hard shell side awning. It's mainly for shade. It's super convenient because I can deploy it quickly during a road trip for shade, rest stops, or quick breaks. It also has built-in LED, which is nice at night. But the more important one is on the passenger side. This is an awning I imported from China. It's about 125 meter to 2 meter size, and it comes with all dividers and LED lights. It's water and 100% light proof. This is really the heart of my camping setup. Once I arrived at the camping site, I opened this awning and hung all the walls. In the outside section, I can move my luggage out of the car and place it here. If it's raining, I can cook here, shower here, or just use it as a shelter space. When you sleep inside the vehicle, you will still need to get in and out, change clothes, go to the bathroom, and deal with bad weather. This enclosed side space solves a lot of these problems. To me, the biggest value is that it creates a buffer zone, an extra living area that solves privacy issues, storage issues, and bad weather inconvenience. And up front, you'll notice that I added this rocket-shaped fairing to smooth airflow a little and reduce the wind noise. They also make the whole truck look more refined. The rear cargo setup is probably the part of this build I'm mostly proud of. First, I installed the molding panels from Redo Design on the side and upper areas. I choose them because they are integrated, strong, and practical. Up top, I store things like my sleeping bag, sunshade, extra clothes. Since all the molding panels are metal, they also work very well with magnetic accessories. For example, I added a magnetic shelf for the paper towel. This can also be used on the side of the car for camping. I also mounted a shelf back there for recovery and bathroom emergencies. In the space on the wheel, I added storage boxes for gears and some small tools. The power cables and adapters here are linked to the inverter setup underneath my engine hood. I'm running a 28-volt 20-amp inverter from Amazon with both an XT60 port and Anderson port. One powers my EcoFlow fridge freezer, and the other charges my Jackery power station. Now let's talk about the coolest parts of this whole build. Instead of using a traditional drawer system, I designed a sliding tray system. There were a few reasons for this. First, the tray design is much lower profile. It keeps the rear sleeping platform flatter, lowers the center gravity, and is also cheaper and lighter than a big drawer system. Second, the tray can slide completely out of the vehicle and work like a table. That means I don't need to carry a separate folding table. Since the fridge, freezer, and the cooking gears are also on the top of the tray, it makes food access and meal preparation much easier. For the materials, I used Baltic birch plywood because it's strong, it can resist wrapping well, and it also looks like a masterpiece from the side. I applied 3 to 4 layers of polyurethane to make it more moisture resistant. On both sides, I used 2 15-pound drawer sliders, which I think is more than enough for this kind of setup. It holds all the gears I need and it doesn't deform when I sleep on it. I also designed multiple hook points on both sides and an L-track system in the middle, so I can secure cargoes and prevent movements while driving off-road. Underneath the tray, I added some magnetic strips, so I can quickly store some tools and kitchen items. And finally, I made this solid wood crossbar. When I lift it, I can easily pull the tray out, and then I can also hang some tools or clothes on the bar. It's simple, elegant, and practical. I usually keep a heavy-duty mat on the top to protect the surface from some sharp gears. This tray is probably the original design I'm mostly proud of. It solves several problems at once and has helped me a lot during trips. And honestly, when you pull out the tray and grab 2 cold beers from the fridge, open it with the opener, and then share it with friends at the camping site, it really makes all the effort feels worth it. Finally, let me talk about a few interior modifications. I made customized window curtains and covers for the whole vehicle to improve the privacy. At the driver's seat, I added a pedal commander for better throttle response, especially on the sand dunes. I bought some genuine leather and thread and then hand-stitched the steering wheel wrap. Compared to stock, now it's more premium and recent style. I also installed aftermarket digital rear view mirrors that include a backup camera and front rear dash cams. I kept the factory head unit and added a dash mounting mount with magnetic phone mount and a very solid iPad mount. I never upgraded to CarPlay because most aftermarket screens of this generation are too small to be useful. For off-road navigation, I think an iPad mini is way better. And honestly, I prefer cell phone much better than the CarPlay. That said, I did install a Bluetooth module so I can connect my smartphone wirelessly and play music through the factory speakers. For the Starlink Mini, my mounting solution is very simple. I either place it directly on the center console or sandwich it into the sunroof area. I really don't think this needs a dedicated mount. On the factory head unit, I installed an Icon 2730 radio. It's super helpful for communication when I'm outdoors with my friends. The main unit is hidden inside the center armrest. So there are no exposed wires and the whole setup is very clean. I also added an external speaker to improve the sound quality. Below that is the charging and power area for the dash cam and for my charger. I also replaced the original shift knob with the TRD Pro version, which feels much better in hand. But I need to mention that a thread adapter is required to do this upgrade. And for the visible trim pieces, I wrapped them in a carbon fiber style film to make the interior feel a little bit more modern. So yeah, that's the overall story of my 4Runner and the build I have created over the past 5 years. This truck has been with me through a huge part of my life. It has sent me to go someone who knew almost nothing about off-road builds to someone who can design, fabricate, and refine a complete system around the way actually I travel. In many ways, the history of this build is also the story of my own growth as an engineer. This is my first long-term car project, but it definitely won't be the last. And next, I'm going to show some of the footage from the trails as a way of saying goodbye to my truck. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.